previous times when we timed it, I think it did 0 to 100 in about 6.2 seconds. This is also the most powerful single throttle body Suzuki 1.3 in the country. I got this car for under a lakh, I think.
സോ ഗൈസ് വെൽക്കം ബാക്ക് ടു മോഡിഫീൽഡ്സ്. ഞാനിപ്പോൾ നിൽക്കുന്നത് ബാംഗ്ലൂർ റേസ് കോൺസെപ്റ്റിലാണ്. അപ്പോൾ ഇതൊന്ന് റേസ് കോൺസെപ്റ്റ് എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ നിങ്ങൾക്ക് ഒരുമാതിരിപ്പെട്ട കാർ ഗേസിനെല്ലാം അറിയാവുന്ന ഒരു സ്ഥാപനമാണ്. വൺ ഓഫ് ദ ബെസ്റ്റ് പെർഫോമൻസ് ട്യൂണേഴ്സ് ഇൻ ഇന്ത്യ ആണ് ഈ റേസ് കോൺസെപ്റ്റ്. അപ്പോൾ അവരുടെ കയ്യിലിരിക്കുന്ന ഒരു മോൺസ്റ്റർ സെൻ, മോൺസ്റ്റർ എന്ന് ഞാൻ പറയുന്നത് ലുക്ക് വൈസ് അല്ല. നമ്മൾ മോൺസ്റ്റർ സെന്നിൻ്റെ ഒരു ഫ്ലൈഡോർസ് തന്നെ കൊണ്ടുവന്നിട്ടുണ്ട്, പക്ഷേ ഇത് അങ്ങനത്തെ അല്ല, ലുക്ക് വൈസ് ഉള്ള കാര്യങ്ങളല്ല നമ്മൾ പറയുന്നത്. പെർഫോമൻസ് എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ മാരക ബിൽഡാണ്, ഒരു കില്ലർ ബിൽഡ് എന്നൊക്കെ വേണമെങ്കിൽ പറയാം. അതുപോലത്തെ ഒരു ഐറ്റമായിട്ടാണ് ഞാൻ വന്നിരിക്കുന്നത്. അപ്പോൾ നമുക്ക് ഈ ഒരു വാഹനത്തിൻ്റെ ഫുൾ വീഡിയോയിലേക്ക് കിടക്കാം. ആദ്യമേ നമ്മുടെ ചാനൽ കാണുന്നവരാണ് ജസ്റ്റ് ഒന്ന് സബ്സ്ക്രൈബ് ചെയ്യുക, അതുപോലെ ഈ വീഡിയോ ലൈക്ക് അടിച്ചിട്ട് ജസ്റ്റ് ഒന്ന് കണ്ടു തുടങ്ങാം കേട്ടോ. അപ്പോൾ നമുക്ക് ഈ ഇരിക്കുന്നതാണ് നമ്മുടെ മോൺസ്റ്റർ സെൻ. യെസ്. സോ അപ്പോൾ നമുക്ക് ഈ ഒരു സ്ഥാപനത്തിൻ്റെ റേസ് കോൺസെപ്റ്റിൻ്റെ ഫൗണ്ടറും അതുപോലെ ഈ ഒരു കാറിൻ്റെ ഓണറും അതുപോലെ ഈ ഒരു കാറ് ഡ്രൈവ് ചെയ്യുന്ന റേസറും കൂടിയാണ് ഈ ജോയൽ ബ്രോ. അപ്പോൾ നമുക്ക് ജോയൽ ബ്രോയോട് ചോദിക്കാം. Hi Joel bro.
Hi.
Yes. Okay. Can you tell me what are the upgrades on this car and the features of this car?
Well, this is a 2003, started out as a Suzuki Zen Carbon. We made it silver color because silver is our signature color.
Okay.
So our main race cars are all in silver color. So we converted from a black car to silver. So this is our version of silver. This is not the same silver that came as a Zen steel. This is more of the AMG silver, which is slightly more dark gray shade. So coming to the car, it's started out as a simple stock car. We bought this car in 2016, I think. But a long story to this is that my first car in 2005 was a Zen. And ever since then, I've had a personal affection towards a Zen. It's always been a car that I wanted to build and tune and do a lot of things. Finally, when this car came to me in 2016, it basically was a car that me and a friend picked up. We got it for very cheap, and we got this car for under a lakh, I think. And it wasn't great running or anything. The engine had problems, and it just came. It barely rolled into our place, and I think it came and reached our spot and it died. I think the engine seized or something like that. It ran a lakh kilometers and it was poorly maintained. So, which is why we got for cheap. So then the car was just parked for 4-5 years, cluelessly in one corner of the shop. We really didn't know what to do with it. It was just lying there rotting. And we used to attend quite a few autocross events in Bangalore. We had a lot of tarmac autocross events for which we would regularly participate with our Honda City VTEC Superstock cars or slightly modified versions. What we felt was that Honda City was very fast. It is a very quick car on a racetrack, but on a track which is largely a go-kart track, a big car like that is not suitable for making quick turns and change of directions, and then it's not really suitable for having more throttle opening time. You'll have to lift a lot and brake early and turn later and a lot of things. Build this car literally out of nothing. Whatever we had in the shop, whether it's the engine bits or whatever that we had, we wanted to build a very cost effective performance Zen, a car that is never built by anyone, a car that performs very different to what anybody would imagine a Zen to be. So that's what we built with built out of this car. So the whole idea of building this car was to as an engineering experiment to show how a car can be built in a cost effective manner with nothing expensive. Because see, when you finished 2 months of your lockdown, you have absolutely no money and you're out of budget. You have even the most cheap racing component is expensive because at that point of time you can't. So you can't afford it. So the whole idea was to do everything purely out of all the bits that we was lying in the shop, nothing else. So literally the engine component, if you see, it's a 1.3 liter. So we took the original Zen engine and we bored and stroked it out. We put a G13 crank into it, and then we modified the head, and we had a cam with us. So we put the pistons, the rods, the whole thing. So the entire engine was put together with the parts that we had in the shop. So there was no real purchase or anything that was needed. It was only the cost of building the stuff. And then we fabricated the entire the body work, and then the exhaust and the intake manifold, and the whole thing was actually done entirely with all the resources we had inside race concepts. There was nothing sourced from outside. So finally, when it came to in making a braking system, and then to make a very efficient dynamic package for the chassis to work, suspension was the only thing we developed, and which we had to spend some money. But other than that, literally, for example, a brake bias valve, which is required for the car to distribute the brake pressure between the front wheel and the rear wheel. If you were to buy a racing brake distributor, that would cost you close to 10,000 rupees. So we took an industrial valve which costs around 900,000 rupees, and we adapted that to do the same job. So like that, there was a lot of innovative thinking that I did to make the car more purposeful, at the same time on a super tight budget. The main performance aspect of the car is that it's got a fully built engine which is quite powerful. It's got a 1.3 liter engine which at the crank, which started out making about 175 to 180 horsepower. Today it puts out over 190, because over the last 3 years we've obviously improved a few things, and we have done a lot of improvements to the car. Okay. And the car runs currently on 15-inch full slicks. It's got bigger brakes, which we've adapted from the mix and match of various cars. So it's got a caliper from a Honda City VTEC, and it's got a disc rotor from another Honda, and then it's got hub conversion from 114 PCD to 100 PCD using a combination of WagonR parts and Swift parts, all kinds of things. So it's
It's
like
a hybrid car.
it's a complete hybrid. There's nothing Zen underneath. It's not, because the Zen, as we all know, is a very fragile car. It's not a car that is very dynamic or anything. It's a nice, cute car. It's a good, fun car. But in terms of dialing and handling, and to make the car extremely competent to handle tight around a corner, it's not really well suited as a stock car. So we had to make complete design changes. So if you see, the chassis has been extensively modified to accommodate various aspects of the car, to improve the handling. So the front aprons are not in its original places. It's been relocated, it's moved, and then the car has been completely reinforced. Most of the load bearing aspects of the chassis has been integrated into the roll cage, so that the car can handle much tighter. So it's more of a one piece uh, um, load capacity, as against a normal car where all the load only comes on the apron and on the lower arms. So it's sharing its load with a lot of other components. So that makes the car extremely tight, and it can corner very hard.
Oh, great.
So that's the aspect of the handling. And then we also wanted to still keep the original two-door feel of the car, so we kept it, almost like stockish looking. So this is fiberglass. The back boot is fiberglass. Only the driver door is metal, and the bonnet is fiberglass. The fenders are again metal. And then we added these flares and arches recently. So over the last 3 years, like I said, I've been improving the car little by little. So we started out with 14-inch wheels and narrow track and short wheelbase. And then we slightly made changes to the wheelbase. We increased the track width. Then we extended the fenders, and now from 14 inches, we've gone up to 15-inch, because we found that the car is making more power, therefore it needs more grip and it needs more contact area. So all that has been done over the last 3 years. The car's entered multiple events. I think about 12 to 14 events in the last 2.5 years of proper competition, and it's pretty much won everything. And it's the fastest Zen in the country, I suppose. And as a naturally aspirated engine in a Zen, this is the most powerful. The gearbox is still based on the original Suzuki Maruti 1.3 box. It's a combination of the mix and match of various Maruti gears, and it's got a short final drive, and it's got a limited split differential, which is of course a custom spec. It's got a 1.5 LSD. And yeah, so the car is not so light as what you think it is. It's still quite heavy because obviously we've added a lot of these extra bits to improve the handling. We've reinforced it in a lot of areas. So the weight of the car is exactly the same as what a stock Zen weighs. So we've knocked off weight from the car from stripping out the interiors, and then the aircon is not there. Uh, there's no comfort stuff in it. It's just the seat and then the roll cage. But then since we've added a lot of other bits into it, the car's weight is more or less maybe about 10-20 kilos lighter than a stock base Zen. So it's about a 700 kilo car, and with 190 horsepower, has very good power to weight ratio. So very quick. I think it does. We have not really timed it in its current form, but I think one of the previous times when we timed it, I think it did 0 to 100 in about 6.2 seconds or something like that. It is,
6.2 seconds.
yeah, which is quite fast. And for the naturally aspirated engine, that's quite fast. And yeah, so that's pretty much it. We wanted to, with every car that we built, whether it's a Honda City VTEC or a Zen, or whether it's a Mitsubishi Seria or any car that we built, my concept has always been to keep the signature look of the car. And for what a two-door Zen is, because it's quite a rare car, we obviously want to keep that original look somewhere, so it doesn't get, you don't get too carried away in making a race car that you cut things and throw things out. So if you look at the car inside,
Okay.
you will see that we've gone into the detail of still maintaining everything that the two-door comes with. So it's got the original dash that only a two-door has, with this silver center console, the AC vent covers, and then it's got this center console with a cup holder and all that, which only came in the carbon. And then if you see the rear panel, that's only for the two-door, where that entire quarter panel has like a body cladding interior plastic. So we want to still retain, although it's a race car, but we still want to keep the elements of what the Zen's two-door classic theme is, because these things are going up in value, obviously, and they are so few in numbers. I think they sold only with the Zen steel and carbon put together, I think about 500 cars. So it's quite a rare piece, and close to what, 17, 18 years later, it still commands, close to 20 years now, still commands very good resale value over a standard Zen. So, you don't want to lose the original character of the car. And being a car enthusiast, back then I really wanted to buy a two-door, but it wasn't affordable, so I bought a regular four-door. So today, to have a car like this, I still want to maintain the original theme of the car. So that's what you see, So we still have the dash functional, and so everything is done, with that attention to detail. It's one thing to give the car performance, but at the same time, it's also a lot of detail to your eyes to make sure that the car is living up to its actual original sense. When you have a limited edition car, you don't want to lose the core essence of how this thing was.
Original DNA.
Yeah, the DNA, the actual character of the car should still remain.
Yes.
So I'll show you guys the engine bay and stuff.
Okay.
So it's quite radical. So if you see, it's got, obviously on the left fender, you have the exhaust system.
Here.
And then, yeah, that's the exit of the exhaust. So the exhaust goes all the way up. So it's purely for performance. It's not for aesthetics. It's because we wanted an optimum length of a tuned exhaust, and then we wanted the engine to have a certain power curve. So it was on purpose. And then we have our custom suspension, which is mounted there. And then this is the 1.3 liter engine, which has a single throttle body. It's not ITB or anything. It's fed straight from the front with a opening on the headlight. So we made this. This is a custom grille, and this is aluminum radiator. This is a custom headlight cowl that we made to take the air in, and then to block off the headlight area. And then other than that, the car is, if you look at it, it looks pretty stockish, but then it is not. In terms of technically, the engine slightly sits in a different geometry. It's not sitting in the original place as how it would come in a normal stock Zen. So the engine sits a little tilted, little more angled, and sits in a slightly different location. And so we have a different brake system. It's not the standard brakes. It's a boosterless system. It's directly connected to a master cylinder, which is straight out of the pedal. So there is no vacuum assist. It's a direct input pedal. And yeah, so this is one of the reasons we say again this is the fastest, the more powerful 1.3 liter Suzuki engine is not just that it's the fastest, but this is also the most powerful single throttle body Suzuki 1.3 in the country. A lot of people in racing applications they put quad throttle body. Although the regulation in which we compete this car in allows us to run multiple throttle bodies, it is my personal thing that I wanted to stick to a single throttle body and try and get maximum performance out of it. So it's more of a this car is more of an R&D bench for us. So when we do this, this helps us translate the results from what we do with this car to our clients' cars. We can build a lot more street versions of it. So that's what the whole exercise is about. That we build something affordable. At the same time, we derive a lot of equations from what we develop in terms of performance. So a single throttle body is more suited for everyday street application and for a street oriented car. If you go ITB, then obviously it's going to be more of a race car. So we want to keep the elements of what this car is, in terms of streetability and pushing a little bit more on top of it for race application. And the trickle down version of that is what we give our road car customers. So whatever you see here has always been adopted into a street car tuning philosophy. So that's pretty much the engine side of it. It runs a standalone ECU. It runs a completely custom wiring harness. It runs a Race Dynamics R200 standalone ECU. And inside it's got a 5-point seat belt with a Sparco FIA racing seat. It's got a steering wheel, OMP. And yeah, so the entire car is stripped out on the inside. It's got a door pad replacement panel. Yeah, that's pretty much it. It's pretty straightforward. The car has a lot of aerodynamic tweaks on it. And not that the car is going to be seeing crazy speeds. Now, aerodynamics is something that works at different speeds. It's not something that works only at 200 kph plus or at 300 kph or at 150 plus. This car has a lot of low speed aero dialed into it because the car is mainly built to run in small tracks. I mean, we are not talking about taking this car to MMRT or to KMS or something. We only want to drive this car's purpose built deliberately to be only driven on a small track. So the maximum speed that the car would hit is about 120 kph, 125, but it gets there really quick. And then we focus on getting the car to attack corners as fast as possible. So your mid corner speed is around 65 kph, 70 kph or something like that, maybe sometimes a little bit more. So the whole aero package on this is done to suit the needs of those speeds. So the car stays very planted and it has that little bit more extra grip to turn harder into corners. So everything on the car is purpose built to what we want to do on a small track. We don't want to take this car for a drag race, or we don't want to take it to a larger track to see what lap time this does over a circuit car or something like that, because we focus on having specific cars for specific applications. So when you have a drag car, you have a drag car for drag racing. You don't take that to any other environment. Or when you say it's a street car, the car is purely a street car. So when you say it's an autocross car, it's only for autocross. When you have a race car, it's only for race. So you don't want to mix things up, because the problem arises when you take one thing, do something else when it's not suited for that. Now, this would not be an ideal drag car because the gear ratios and the weight of the car is not for a drag application. We could benefit if we change the whole box setup and we knock off like 50-60 kilos to go drag racing, but it's not what it is. So once we build it, we don't touch it. We don't want to keep removing things to do one kind of an event and then put it back to do another kind of an event. So it's purpose built, and we stick to our philosophy of competing in different formats with specific equipment. It's a build that nobody has done in the country.
Oh, really?
People usually take cars, a street car, and they adapt it to do autocross, or they take a racing car and they just bring it down and do autocross setups. But this is the first time anybody has gone so hardcore into building an autocross car, and I think it paid off well. Probably it motivates more people to also do some builds like this. My whole idea was to, like I said, first thing was that I wanted to come out of my whole boredom after lockdown. So it was more of a stress buster project, and then it turned out to be an R&D project where we wanted to do value engineering of making things uh, fast yet on a budget, and then it became an R&D bench for us to do a lot of development and then use that development to make our customer cars faster. So it served all purposes, and winning with this is a bonus.
How much costs are needed to this build this?
It's very difficult to put a number because, again,
Approximately.
time is also money.
Oh,
So, although, like I said, we put a lot of things from the shop, of course, those the main bits are also decently expensive stuff. It's not like they come really cheap. It's got forged piston, forged rods, it's got cam and this and that, which is obviously expensive. But since we had them, we put it. So I can't really put a number to this because more than just the parts and stuff like that you see. So, for example, if you see these wheels, these are Team Dynamics Pro Race 1.2 wheels. These are quite expensive wheels. A set of four wheels like this would cost you around 60,000 rupees, so 60 to 70,000 rupees if you import it today. So, like that, we have put all motorsport stuff. We have not cut corners in terms of what we do with the performance aspect, to get the maximum benefit out of the car. So the pads on this car is, although like I said, we are running a mix and match of different caliper and rotor, but the pad is a proper motorsport compound. So it's a carbon metallic pad, which is a 120-pound pad. So it's not cheap. So there are certain things that you need to have in the car if you really want, the performance aspect. So this car, like I said, it's been developed over the last 3 years. We've spent little money over the last many years, and most importantly, it's the time of the shop, mainly my time, and then the top time of our people working, the fabrication cost, all that's mounted over it. So I really don't know what it costs. It is definitely worth many lakhs, but I really can't put a number to it because I have no idea. I haven't put pen and paper to it. I have not put any accounts because it just happened organically, and this is not a car that we want to sell. So we're not going to talk about a price to it because when you don't want to sell it, why would you put a number to it? So
okay,
if
okay.
it's expensive or if it's cheap or whatever it is, it's for us to know.
So, Joel bro, thank you. Thank you for your valuable time and showing me this monster scene in the country. Okay, so we will see you in the next video. Bye.